Hey, you guys, welcome again to another live broadcast. So glad that you guys are here. We're starting a little bit late, because typically our broadcasts are a little bit earlier than this. And so I told you I'm the running man. I'm always running. But after this, I'm going to I'm going to chill for the rest of the day. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, or if you had a wonderful day and you're just getting ready for the evening and you're going to get your rest and all of that. And I'm certainly going to make sure I'm doing that as well. Well, today is March the 31st, 2026. And today's broadcast, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to look at this post that I did earlier today. Man, I'm telling you right now, if you think that somehow that these HBCUs are basically safe havens for many of our black youth, that then I would say you better think again about that. I'm going to show you some of the things that are being taught there. Am I saying don't send your kids to HBCUs? No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, you better be paying very close attention to what actually is being taught there, and ask yourself, is this something that aligns with my personal beliefs? Do you understand? And I think that's a very important thing to do, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the recent layoffs that have taken place. I don't know if you've heard about the Oracle. Oracle had just had a massive layoff. I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about how they did that and why they did that as well. And it is crazy. Anyway, so we're going to get into that as well. And so right now, let's go ahead and get some music going just a little bit. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and get things started. So welcome, you guys.
Yeah. This one's for every queen who thought a crown was too heavy to wear. But baby, that crown was built for light.
You twist, you turn, you tuck, you side. Mirror talking, why can't it just lie? But I see galaxies in every curl. A sacred pattern, baby, that built the world. They said too coarse, I said too divine. High quality always takes time. Girl, your roots run deep as history. That's more than beauty, that's ancestry. You may think your hair's a curse, but I see it as a blessing. You've been stressing with that pressing, but your essence, baby, that's the lesson. Let your crown glow, let it breathe, let it show. Crowns aren't meant to be covered, no. I don't care what the others think, we just wanna see you happy. I'm happy, cause that's how I know it's true. Learn to love your crown, baby, I'll show you how. That's for, see, the sun hits right on them coils so tight. Each strand's a story, bold and light. You say it's hard for fingers to slide through, baby, that's two of us, me and you. Let's leave China and India out this talk. We walk in roots that angels walk. No synthetic love could ever compete with the rhythm that your curls beat. You say it's hard to manage, but art always takes some damage. Still you shine through all that pain. Girl, that's power in your mane. Let your crown glow, let it show, let it show. Crowns aren't meant to be covered, no. I don't care what the others think, we just wanna see you happy. I'm happy cause that's how I know it's true. Learn to love your crown, baby, I'll show you how. That's for see, that's legacy in motion. That's melanin devotion.
All right, another 10 seconds and we're going to get started.
There's a whole universe in your room. You don't need their approval. I see you clearly, foresee. I see you, baby, I foresee you. Baby, I foresee you.
Hey, baby, I foresee you. Shout out to all the 4C sisters out there. And the 4C brothers out there too. Well, I'm a more of a foresee you later. Yes. I got 4C down here though. I got 4C under my deck. I got that. But yeah, I'm up here. It's a 4C you later. It's in the waning days. Okay. I could try to let it grow out, but I'm sorry. I can't do the cul-de-sac. I can't do the cul-de-sac on top of my head. I just can't. Okay. I can't. I just can't. I'm just going to keep it real. I can't do the cul-de-sac on top of my head. Yeah, I can't. I just can't. I was considering it and all that, but baby, like the hairline done going up yonder. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing great. Nice day out today. I had a wonderful time out. My wife and I went for a walk. I showed her a new trail that's nearby and all that. So it was very nice, but we had to keep the pace up because the mosquitoes, yes, the mosquitoes are out here already. And I know they don't put something in the mosquitoes and don't go out there. Black folks, see, let me teach you something. And some of y'all probably already know this. Y'all probably already noticed. Don't go outside with lotion on, especially nice, sweet smelling lotion. Because these mosquitoes out here, boy, let me tell you something. They dark meat and you putting sweet barbecue sauce on there too. Oh my goodness, they done lost their mind. They will come and tear your stuff up. They will tear you up. And yeah, so so it's a lesson to be learned in that. So yeah, I got to go ashy, when we're out there or whatever, but it was a very nice day. I kind of, sometimes I swap out. I'll start off my day with breathing exercises. Some days I'm like, man, listen, I woke up and had to, hair in my mouth. I just cut my hair. I woke up and it was a light fight, but I was able to get through it. And it was something else I had. But I said, I ain't doing no breathing exercise right now. Let me go for my walk. And that's exactly what I did today. It was, and I'm glad I did that. So again, listen to my body and all of that. So anyway, so today I already told you what we're going to talk about. You see what's on the screen right now. We were saying today was going to be the last day, but we're going to do it one more day. Okay. We got the 100% fresh and natural juices with no additives, preservatives, flavors, or colors. Make sure you head on over to sombertree.com. We're going to continue to sell it, but we're going to take a break, maybe a few weeks or so, and then we'll re-release it again. But for now, if you're trying to get your orders in, this will be the time to do it. Okay. Over there on sombertree.com. Make sure you check it out. Also, I'm going to keep on point. The two things that for me, I'm always going to keep promoting is going to be definitely the 50-50 pepper. And then what you see here on the screen as well is the 8-herb multi-vitamin and mineral brew. You definitely want to make sure that is a part of, we had someone write in today. I got to see if anybody responded to them or not. They said they had 2 teen boys and they were trying to figure out what are some things that they could get for their boys. But this is definitely one of them right here, because, we love our juice. We love our juice, especially when it's red. It's something about that red juice. This right here, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And we're actually going to be doing some, we got some more research we're doing on this end of some other alternative natural sweeteners. I came across one. I was like, oh my goodness, if we can get this thing, I got to test it out first. But if we can get this thing and it's what they said is, and it's all natural, this is a plant. So I said, if I can get my hands on this thing and it does what they're saying it does, it's gonna be lights out. So anyway, so stay tuned for that. I'm looking forward to that and see if, you know, we can test it out or whatever. So always looking, always exploring, because I told you we getting folks off of this diabetes nonsense. We're getting folks off of this high blood pressure, and that's the goal. That's the goal, because we can get that. A lot of these problems can be taken care of. Anywho, let's get into it. Again, I'm glad that all of you guys are here. I'm glad that, you know, big shout out, of course, to everybody in the chat. So glad that you guys are here as well. All right. So glad that each and every one of you guys are here. And yes, greetings, family, because that's what you are. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let me go right to the post. Here, they just did an update to my software again. So I may have to hunt around a little bit for some things here, but maybe not. Couple things here. Let's see. Let's get to the post here. All right, here we go. Let's go there. I'll pull this up here. And let's go here. There we go. Let's take a look here. A couple of things. One thing I want to bring your attention to is this right here. If you haven't taken the time to go through this, I am absolutely loving doing these little comics, y'all. I'm absolutely loving doing these comics. And because it gives me another way to communicate the stuff I communicate in video. You know what I mean? Because some people, a video may be too much for them. And I'm like, okay, well, let me put it in a comic. And so that's what I do. And so yeah, thanks to AI, but the content as far as what's being said here is me. That's me talking. You know what I mean? And so yeah, so there will be plenty more of that. Plenty more of that, so, and I think it's great ways just to get, people to think, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that we share on these videos, but, sometimes it's great just to focus on that one thing. So if you didn't see that, make sure you go over there on that. This right here, someone said, man, you were such a great photographer. Man, I could have ran with that, but no, I'm not. I'm a photographer, but these ain't pictures I took, I spent a great deal of time, though, trying to put this together to get it perfected, though. It was through AI or whatever. But I was right before I was going to bed. I'm always looking for that 3-point shot, at the buzzer beater. And I said, I want to do something a little more. Let's see. I said, I want some beautiful images of black folks, but each one of the images, I want them to represent a different herb, right? And so that's what I did. So this represents lovely. She represents dandelion. This another beautiful woman. She represents hibiscus. She represents moringa. She represents ginger. And he, I got to put some brothers in there, but the brothers gonna have to look strong. Okay, they're gonna have to look manly and masculine. And some of the stuff they try to get back to me, I was like, no, you too sweet. Okay, I said turmeric. Okay, I didn't say sweet and low. Okay, so rewind, let's go back and let's get it right. And so, so he represents turmeric. And if you go through the actual post, you'll see that, I'm talking about how each one benefits those of us that have a lot of melanin in our skin. You know what I mean? So I'm always every day, I think about, okay, what's another creative way that I can show people the importance of making sure that you're including this stuff in your life every day. You know what I mean? So like I said, again, the only thing I got left is right now, puppet shows. So I may be doing that too. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it here. So today I did this post here because I was on X and someone, they were mentioning about a book that they had coming out. And they were talking about how this month in March, I think this is Women's Month, right? There were 2 books that were released this month by Black women. And I thought it was very interesting, and it's something definitely of note. I'm going to play you a video too. Then that will probably be a good way to set this off here. But Jamila Lemieux, I hope I'm saying her name right. Black single mother, real life tales of longing and belonging, right? And then this individual here, Anika Maza Simpson, single black mother, y'all, this is, I don't know if they coordinated this, but yeah, these are two separate books. Queer Reflections on Marriage and Racial Justice. Now, she's a PhD. She teaches in an HBCU at Howard. I think Howard, that's where she teaches. Okay. And I thought that was interesting. Let's read what's said here. Book talk. Black women have been at the forefront of liberation movements since our earliest battles against enslavement. One prominent contribution to the cause of freedom offered by Black feminism is the expansion of our understanding of the significance of love and interpersonal relationships, gender, and sexuality to Black liberation movements. So, yeah, when I hear all of that salad, I know when I'm up what we're going to be dealing with. And so, yeah, she is very queer. If you look her up, I saw a picture of her. I was like, yeah. But yeah, she's really in that world, you know, for real. And so I just thought this was very interesting. So here you have an individual who's going to look at the institution of marriage through the lens of queerness, which is, and feminism, which is kind of weird because marriage in of it's not really weird because, well, I guess it is because the lens that you're using is biased. You know what I mean? So we already know what angle you're coming from. You know what I mean? Feminism don't really go along with a family that's a husband or wife and a child. They don't really go along with that, you know? And so, yeah, so let me play for you first this video that I came across. And I think she's probably one of you guys' favorite actresses. I'm being funny here, but let me see if I can pull it up right quick for you. Let's see here. There we go here. People still be running their mouth on stuff. Anyway, hold on. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let me pull up my bookmarks. I think. What am I looking up? Okay, yeah, here it is. That. And here we go. My thing all blurred up. There you go. There you go. Anyway, let's go here. So this is Leslie Jones, y'all. This is Leslie Jones. I want you to hear what she is saying here, what the advice she's giving to to young people. All right. I want you to take a listen to this. All right. Let's bring it over here. And here we go. Take a listen to Miss Leslie Jones.
I think marriage is legalized slavery.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Say more, because if I'm thinking about slavery and I'm thinking about marriage, there are two different images that come into my head.
Absolutely not. I don't think, I don't know how you don't. A man is, especially if he's expecting you to be a trad wife, he might as well pull out a whip and a chain.
Wow. So there are young people watching who might be wanting to get married. What would you say to them?
Don't
get married.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what she said then. This was very recent here. But this is what she said here. Take a listen.
I'm sick of men telling me, oh, well, you know, you hardcore. Yes, I am.
Can you handle it?
Oh, well, yeah. What you bringing to the table? I am the table. Understand why you wouldn't want a woman like me. I am successful, I'm rich, I can fight.
There we go. All right, now, again, so as we're starting our discussion yet again this evening here, I'm sorry, y'all, it'll blur up a little bit. But anyway, let me be very clear. She does not represent the opinion of all black women. I do not believe that her opinion represents the opinion of all black women. That is utterly ridiculous. So we can have this conversation without any broad brush assumptions, okay? So I'm not coming from that perspective, okay? I know that there are a lot of people out there today who, when they have a discussion where black women are being discussed or black women issues are being discussed, they tend to, or they're not very clear in, in making it clear basically that this does not apply to all women. All black women do not fall into this category. Okay. So I always try to do that so that there ain't no misunderstandings or anything like that. However, so someone may say, well, why are we talking about this then? I'm talking about it because this is something that is a growing, and it's been growing for a long time, movement amongst many black women and who are adopting this mindset, right? And so, and it's one that we do need to address. You understand what I'm saying? And address it in a way that's respectful, factual, right? And that's how we're going to do this. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So the two individuals, the authors that I'm going to be mentioning in this post, again, I'm making it very clear, they do not represent all black women out there. They don't. But there is a growing percentage of black women, particularly young black women, who are adapting to this mindset, right? So the author that, let me switch up here, let's see, Anika Maza Simpson, for example. Like I said, again, she is a PhD. She teaches at Howard University, and she's not the only one. There are many other professors just like her who teach these ideologies to many of our young women and young men in HBCUs. Especially with them incorporating the LGBTQ agenda and, saying, trying to, create more, I should say, confusion. Okay. I don't think there should be any confusion at all when we're talking about the family structure, right? We do know that families look different in these days. Sometimes a family could be led by the female, right? Many of us are used to that. But you also have families that are led by men, all right? And then sometimes you may have, or I should say the mother or the father, right? But then you have families that are led by grandparents or aunties or uncles and things like that, right? So families have very varieties. But in recent years, now we're seeing that families now may include two women or two men, that kind of thing, right? But within Black American culture, however, that is not something that when we go far back, that is not something, even though that you did have people who practiced, gay or, lesbian or homosexuality or whatever, even though that was something that it did exist, it wasn't something that was perceived within Black culture as a catalyst to grow communities, to grow families, right? Because at the end of the day, all people agree that if you, in order to have a child, you need a man, you need a woman. And then they may say, well, no, you don't. Now you can get the test, you can go to the lab and then they give you a sperm or whatever, and then they can impregnate you that way. Well, you could do that, but where did the seed come from? It came from a man. You may be excluding him, but it came from a man. And isn't it something, though, that, there are many stories out there of people who were born that way, where instinctively the children will always say what, y'all? What a lot of these stories, instinctively, if you read the stories about or listened to the stories of children that were born that way, test tube babies, they used to call them, instinctively, these children will always grow up to say there's something missing. There's something missing, and they always inevitably get back to, I was looking for my father. Nobody had to tell them that. They instinctively knew that there was a father that needed to be in the picture. Why am I mentioning that? Because it goes back to what I've been talking about over and over again. Instinctively, we know that we need to have a mother and we know we need to have a father in our lives. We instinctively know that. When you look at nature, when you look at the seeds and all of that out there, there are certain things that animals, they instinctively know to do. There's things that instinctively trees and birds, they know to do. They don't have to go to Harvard or Yale or Princeton to get taught some of these things. They just instinctively know, hey, I need to do this, that, or whatever. Let me hold on for just a second here. go. Hopefully that'll help my camera a little bit there, the focus. Okay, there we go. They just know what to do. This is built into nature. Okay, so we can't get around that at all. You know, the migration patterns of different animals and stuff. They know to do that. They don't have to go to college or university to do that, to learn that. They instinctively know. And what I am telling you is that there are things in you that are instinctive. You know what's right. You know what you're supposed to be doing. You understand? You don't need to keep figuring out going in a circle. You know, because it's in you, right? So anyway, so enter in feminism, enter in the LGBT movement and all of that stuff. And what it's doing, it's trying to bring in a lot of confusion into the lives of people where they're like, I don't know what I was born this way, but I don't know all this other stuff. But it doesn't align up with nature. It doesn't align with nature. You take peeling skin off of your thigh or your forearm to formulate a penis is not natural. It's not natural at all. It isn't. That is not, there's nothing natural about that. Okay. But we do have belief systems out there where people do teach these things and they believe that, yeah, it is absolutely true. Anyway, let's get into the post that I did here, and let's go here. So let me read it, and let's go here. So anyway, it's called the normalization and upsell of single black motherhood by black women. Now, when I first looked at these, it was doing my research behind both of these books and authors, you know, for me, I'm okay with doing books about, you know, that really have these discussions about, you know, what the things that single mothers go through. I love hearing those stories. You know what I mean? Just the trials of stuff, whatever it is, the joys. You know, a lot of times, a lot of people like to focus on the negative, but there's also positives too that we don't hear about, right? You know, there are some things out there that, you know, just want to hear the whole picture, right? And in that and of itself, there's nothing wrong with it. But there's some things that it's where a lot, unfortunately, the material that does come out tends to skew in a certain direction, and that direction is always feminism. Now that I have an issue with. You know what I mean? And as we get into this, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And when I say both of these books were released this month, one takes a look at marriage through a queer lens. That automatically tells us how men are viewed when discussing an institution that was built on men and women. Anika Mazza Simpson is a PhD who teaches at an HBCU. But I want to also bring to your attention this other book that was released this month by a well-known, as well, by social commentator Jamelia Lemieux. Hope I'm saying her name right. She also is not only just simply discussing the lives of black single mothers, but as you will see in this recent interview, she is trying to upsell it as a lifestyle that ultimately comes with some benefits. I say it's one thing to look at the brighter side of things. It's a whole different thing when the brighter side comes at the expense of a mischaracterization of men in general. And then I link you to the full article. It was in NPR. It was a recent interview that she did with Fresh Air. Anyway, so this is an excerpt of it, and let's go ahead and read it. And to think that, and this is what her speaking, I believe. And I think that, what am I doing? Okay, let me read that again. That is said twice. I copied and pasted it. Anyway, and I think that was one of the biggest oppositions to single motherhood, you know? But the irony is, as a single mother, I don't do everything. I do have time to myself. I have help. I have support, you know? There's some study that suggests that, like single mothers do, like 7 hours less housework per week compared to married mothers because they're not taking care of a man. Okay. So that's what she says. Mosley, that's the woman, I guess, that's interviewing her. She says, so then, wait a minute, just so that I can get this straight. So they work less in the home? And then she says, yes, because they have less people to care for? Yes. In the house? Yes. Mosley's like, yeah. Lemieux says, yeah. So, you know, ultimately, like, I think that when I think about partnership and what I was kind of wanting for as a kid that I couldn't quite articulate was for someone to carry the load in a way I didn't see somebody carrying the load for my mother. I knew my father was supportive of my mother. I knew he did things for her, ran errands, picked up things, dropped us off of places, sure. But the labor, the work of parenting fell on her. Okay. So that was the full quote that I pulled out from the article. But like I said, again, you can read the whole thing yourself there because she just continues to build on that. So this is the other part that I had to add to it. I say, okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, but I will try to keep it short. I agree that single motherhood isn't some sort of death sentence. Does it come with its own unique set of challenges? Yes. But it also comes with real pressures that, quite honestly, are not meant to be carried by one person. And there is no argument on the planet that can convince me that it should be normalized at all. Same goes for single dads, but we're not talking about them here. What Lemieux is doing here is trying to upsell an arrangement that isn't realistic or based on a full set of the facts. Her take that somehow she is able to carve out time for herself as a single mom because she does not have the time to take care of a man. That was like the point number one. I said most responsible men are not looking to their wives to dress them, wash them, drive them to work, talk to their boss to straighten out some mess on the job, drama, etc. Again, let me stress that we are talking about responsible men. Responsible men do participate in the care of their children. That means doing things like spending time with them, taking them to practice, talking with teachers, and just overall being there for them. For them, it's just not about dinner and sex. So again, if you are married to a responsible man, how exactly are you taking care of them to the degree that you don't have time for yourself? And I tell people all the time, simply living together in an unmarried state may come with some perks, but what is glaringly undeniable is the fact that neither party is willing to commit for life. And it's that for life piece that has become scarier and scarier for most people in this generation because everyone wants to still have their quote unquote options. This is why marriage isn't something that should be mandated on anyone. If you want to burn both ends of the candle while you are young and have fun, that is your choice. But every choice you and I make come with its own consequences in the long run. And many people do not want to face those consequences. They just find ways to blame men or women in general for not meeting them where they are. I keep stressing responsible because as long as either party simply is simply content with living arrangements, that leaves the back door open for a greater percentage of irresponsible individuals. I'm not saying that everyone who gets married is innately responsible. What I am saying is that people who are willing to co-sign to a long life commitment to each other tend to be individuals who understand the responsibilities that come with that level of commitment. And yes, you also have the percentage of people who do get married with the living arrangement mindset, but that's a whole nother post for another day. And then I brought it back and then I just close it out with this for Lemieux. She herself mentions how her own parents had a relationship while they were there for her, there was no lifelong commitment to each other. As a child, she was the glue that kept them in the same room. So yes, in her case, she is the one that is holding everything together. So now that she is grown, her nervous system has already been trained to see herself as the one who has to carry everything. And so what then happens is that you find yourself attracted. Okay, it looked like I lost my connection there. Okay, it looked like I lost my connection there for a moment there, but I'm here now. Anyway, so there you go. And you can share your thoughts or whatever in the comments and all of that. Love to hear from you on that. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is what contributes to this cycle, is that you have a lot of these children, unfortunately, that are born in these situations where, maybe the parents, they're not together, but what's holding the parents together, and sometimes the parents will tell you, listen, honey, the only reason why I'm here is for you. Otherwise, I don't really care too much about your mother, or vice versa. You understand? And so what happens is that mindset gets passed on to the children, right? And so now the children, they feel like, okay, I have to always be this person that's holding everything together. There's a meme that's out here. Y'all can look it up. It's referred to as the beat it chick. Y'all can look it up. Just do a search for beat it chick. And I'll just describe it to you. Basically, it's divided in two parts. The first part is, at the top, you have, the guy who's like the nerd, and he's like holding a bunch of books. And then there's this beautiful young lady, and she's like making fun of him or whatever. You nerd, I ain't got time for you or whatever. And she's hanging out with the thug, right? And then they fast forward to the future. Now the nerd is grown up, and now he has the expensive car and a nice job and all of that. And this woman who's older now, well, they're both older, she's like trying to check him, trying to like, hey, you remember me from high school? You remember that? And he's like, beat it, chick. I already moved on, or something like that, right? And so it's a meme. You can look it up. And so this is something that we are seeing today. Literally, if you go on TikTok, there is actually an entire stream of young black women, or I wouldn't say young, but middle-aged black women who are now out here saying that telling other black women, you need to start going after the nerds. You need to start going after the nerds now, because the nerds, I done lived my life, but now the nerds see that when you start going after the nerds are the ones that really want us now, that kind of thing. So these are grown people who are teaching our younger women these kinds of mindsets. You understand what I'm saying? And so I just wanted to point that out, because here you got, and it's very intentional. You saw the broadcast we did yesterday where we talked about in the church and how purposeful they are in pushing these ideologies. It's very, feminism and anti-black male kind of ideologies. But we also see this happening in academia, where, many of our females, our young ladies, are being taught these mindsets. You know what I'm saying? And again, let me be very clear here. As men, we also got a whole lot of work we have to do on our side. You know what I mean? I would love one day, it'd be great if we could do some type of roundtable or something like that, where we could really get into that, just talk about the men, you know what I mean, with other men, where we could really talk about that and things we can do to help each other, build each other up, to address these issues, that kind of thing. So we'll see. Maybe one day, something like that, we can put something together like that. But for men, especially, we have a lot of our issues too. You know what I mean? There are things that we got growing up from other men who are broken. When you have broken people teaching children, what you think is going to be the result of that? That's an easy math equation. You got a broken man teaching a child. What do you think the child is going to grow up as? Broken. Same thing on the women's side. So what we're witnessing on social media, you got the men versus the women and vice versa. It's the result of them being taught by people who are broken. You understand? So how can we have a common unity or a community where it's filled with people who are broken? How much building in a positive direction do you expect you can get accomplished by people who are broken? You understand? And then we can get into the LGBT stuff as well. Like I said all the time, I don't hate these people at all. I don't. But I do strongly disagree, if you were to ask me, the lifestyle. And that's not something that I would condone, or when I say condone, I mean, that's not something I will ever normalize, because even in just basic biology, it doesn't add up. It doesn't. And I'm not going to normalize it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm probably a weirdo out here today by kind of being one of those people who think that it's not okay to cut off a young woman's breast. I don't, and maybe I'm a weirdo on that now. Maybe, but this mindset that's out here, they actually do believe that. They think it's okay. And I'm talking black women. There are numbers of black women who think that's okay. That's what you want to do. That's quite all right. Go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? So no, I don't agree with that at all. So it's just an observation. I wanted to share that. I came across that and I was just like, wow, this is really something. 2 books that are talking about single black motherhood and trying to upsell it, and it's like, no, I mean, I think I'm very open to the discussion, like I said earlier, to listening to hearing from many of these women who happen to be single mothers. They have a very important voice to give in the general conversation, period, when it comes to families, you know what I mean? And the things that they encounter, they deal with and all that stuff. They have a very vital, important voice in this. But their voice at the same time shouldn't be something that automatically is being rustled over to being like, see, and these men, if you go off the rails on that, it's, you're not going to get far with that. You're not, you know what I mean? Let's start addressing these issues on more of an individual, level, right? And being honest and being real. And, but like I said, both sides have issues on this. So anyway, I just thought it was something, but anyway, be just very curious to hear some of your thoughts on this as well. Okay, so let's move on. So I went to talk about that real quick and bring that up. And like I said, again, just as a warning to many of the parents out there, just really think long and hard, regardless if it's an HBCU or if it's just a regular standard college. Think long and hard. I know we can't protect our babies forever, but it doesn't mean that we can just be totally oblivious to these things that's happening. And they're getting to these children at a much younger and younger and younger stage. And so we got to make sure that we ain't fools in this. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's move on to the next thing, shall we? All right. So today I also heard of something else that was quite troubling. And that is Oracle, the company Oracle. They make the chips and servers and things like that. Well, today it was around 6 a.m., I believe, Eastern Standard Time. About 30,000 employees of Oracle received an email. And let me see if I have that, because I did pull that up to make sure that I show it to you guys. About 30,000 employees. Where the heck did that thing go? Hold on. Received an email from Oracle, and the email basically told them, go kick rocks, that your services are no longer needed. Could you imagine that? Let me pull that up. Okay, here it is, right here. Just pulling it up right here. I know I had it, but I got it right here. I'm just sliding it over here so we can bring it up on the screen. Okay, here it is. Here we go. All right, here we go. All right, so you guys see that. Okay, so here we go. Read the email that Oracle is sending to laid off employees. All right, so employees started receiving notifications early Tuesday. The cuts appear to have affected employees globally, but the full extent of layoffs could not be immediately learned. After careful consideration of Oracle's current business needs, okay, let me just go right to the email. All right, let's just read that. Okay, so this is the email, 6 o'clock in the morning. Just imagine you're getting ready for work and then you get this email. We are sharing some difficult news regarding your position. After careful consideration of Oracle's current business needs, we have made the decision to eliminate your role as part of a broader organizational change. As a result, today is your last working day. We are grateful for your dedication, hard work, and impact you have made during your time with us. After signing your termination paperwork, you will be eligible to receive a severance package subject to the terms and conditions of the severance plan. You will receive an email from DocuSign to your Oracle email address with details on your severance and termination date. It said immediate action required to receive important follow-up information, including FAQs and separation documents. To help you through this transition, you must provide a personal email address. Please click here to submit a personal email address immediately. If you make a submission error, please resubmit a new form. Please note, the personal email address will only be used for correspondence regarding separation-related information and severance agreements. Access to your computer, email, voicemail, and files will be deactivated soon, and you will not be able to log into your computer. As a reminder, you are prohibited from downloading, copying, or retaining, including emailing yourself, any Oracle confidential information. Thank you for your contributions to our organization. If you have additional questions, please reach out to our HR team. I'm laughing for keeping from crying for a lot of these people. That's quite sad, isn't it? But this is actually happening all over. You have Meta. Meta is doing some massive layoffs. We know Amazon has been doing some massive layoffs, and they're going to continue to do it. There's quite a few companies we're going to see and continue to see that's doing these massive layoffs. Now, from what I read, one of the reasons why, and I knew something was about to go down because I was on ChatGPT the other day. And y'all know those shorts I do, and they're like the little cartoons I do sometimes, the shorts. Not the still frame comics like I show you, but the actual shorts. I use a little comics thing. And I'm using a service via OpenAI or ChatGPT. Is called Sora, Sora. And, you just type in your promptings and all that. I'm still on a learning curve with that. It takes me a long time to figure that out. But anyway, but yeah, you put in your prompts. I mean, you got people who've done like little mini movies. I mean, who are really good at it. I mean, they just do all kinds of stuff. Now, Sora isn't the only thing out there, but it's other similar apps that are out there as well. But anyway, now this is OpenAI now. Billion dollar OpenAI. So I went on Sora the other day and I looked, and at the top of the screen, it says we'll be discontinuing Sora at the end of this month. I was like, what? And I said, oh, well, maybe they meant for maintenance or something. No, they're done. They're not doing it anymore. And so I read the letter, and they basically said we're discontinuing it because we're going to shift our resources elsewhere, right? So I saw that, and I was like, wow, that's really odd. That's really, really odd, because why would you do that? I mean, this is a very popular platform, a tool, a lot of people use this. Anyway, between that and what I just shared with you, as far as them getting rid of all of these employees. Now, this is OpenAI now. And I'm sorry, I'm talking OpenAI. The reason why OpenAI is related to what I just told you about Oracle is because a lot of the servers and the chips that OpenAI use, it comes from Oracle. Okay, so that's why I'm like bouncing back and forth. But anyway, Oracle, along with OpenAI, you remember it was some months back, they were at the White House, and you remember Trump was there, and he was like, and NVIDIA, they were up there, and he was like, yep, we're going to bring jobs back to America. You remember that? He had all three of them up there. And they were talking about how all this, what they're going to be doing, building data centers and all this other stuff. This is a huge conversation, y'all. And I would highly encourage you, to really stay locked in on these data center conversations that have been going on, because the impact it's having on water, on the environment, you need to be locked into those conversations. And power. We definitely need to be locked in on that, because they need a lot of water to keep those servers cool. And so what's happening is the price of water, municipal water, is going up for a lot of people. So for black people, hello, black folks, we've been complaining about how they, what was going on up in Flint, Michigan with the quality of water. Remember that? Then we talked about what was going on in Mississippi and Jackson. You remember that? Those stories? And then there's other places too where you have a high percentage of black folks who live there. And we've been complaining about the quality of water. Well, now enter in the data centers. So now on top of that, they're going to say, but guess what? Let's think this through. And this is real time. I'm thinking this now. See, you're human. Follow me. Walk with me now. See, you're a human being. And in order for you to be healthy, you need clean water, don't you? Right? You need clean water to be healthy. We all need water. And let's continue with this. So let's just say they moved a data center somewhere in the area of Flint, Michigan. So if they moved a data center in the area of Flint, Michigan, let me ask you this question. Do you think the people that run the municipal water in Flint, Michigan have an incentive to clean the water up? No, they don't. Because all they need is water. That's all they need. I'm talking about the data centers. All the data centers need is water. It don't necessarily have to be clean. They just need water. That's all they need. So the more of these data centers that are popping up in these areas, the less the incentive these local municipal places have to clean up your water. In fact, they're not going to want to spend any extra money to keep water at a level of cleanliness, because we getting all this money from the data centers, from Elon Musk, from Meta and all of that. They breaking us off. So now they're going to maintain a certain standard, but they ain't got to go that high with it, because look who's taking a lot of the water. You understand what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. Black folks especially, we got to stay locked in these conversations. So anyway, getting back to these data centers, what was the saying? Oracle. See, they bought into these data centers. They are bought into these data centers big time. And so it's going to cost a boatload, tons of money to get these data centers all up and running. So in order for them to achieve that, they got to cut cost. Well, guess they figured that out, didn't they? They figured that out by cutting about 30,000 employees, just like that. They didn't need to think twice about it. They ain't need to think twice about it. We're going to cut 30,000 people. Imagine having that kind of power. Oh, yeah. What's his name? Ellison? Yeah, I think he's Jewish, right? Oh, that doesn't have nothing to do with that. We don't have to think that way. Well, I'm going to mention that because it is an important fact. But anyway, so this is where we're heading, y'all, when we talk about water. Now, let's go back. Those of you who've been following us for a minute, what I've been telling you. You better start finding those springs in your area. Find a spring.org or .com or whatever. Just do a search for where is your local springs, okay? These are things you just need to keep in the back of your mind. If you want to make sure that you and your family are getting quality natural water, what I am telling you is that these municipal places are having, the more of these data centers come popping up here, the less incentive they have to keep your water clean. Okay, something to think about. I want you to really keep that in mind. Now, for bonus points, Iran supposedly they put out some APB or whatever, basically saying, warning, America. They said, listen, for every assassination that you commit against our leaders, we're going to start bombing up or going after all of these different data companies. Like, they got data centers literally all over the world and facilities all over the world, right? And they're saying, so you better be on the lookout. You start messing around with us, it's going to be a wrap, because we're going to start attacking Meta. We're going to start attacking Oracle. We're going to start attacking all of this stuff. And I sat back and I said, the world is such a freaking stage. It really is. Because first and foremost, do not buy into the mindset or what they're trying to push into your mind that it's us versus them. I don't hate any Iranians. There ain't no Iranians done anything to me. So that's off the table. So I'm not picking Team USA or any other team in this war. The whole thing is fake as far as I'm concerned. But them putting that out there, they're already letting you know what things that are about to happen. Okay. They already saw this. We already see what happened to Oracle. And see, now Oracle's in a position where they can easily say, well, the reason why we had to do these layoffs is because Iran. They can easily kind of spin it that way, even though that's not the case at all. No, they fired these people because of the fact that they are trying to ramp up all of these data centers. So that's kind of where we are, y'all. And there's a lot more people that are being fired. So just so you understand the enormity of this situation here. Now, I think it's safe to say the overwhelming majority of the people who did get fired by Oracle or Meta or some of these other companies, and I would say to a lesser extent like Amazon, and let's just mention Amazon real quick. See, Amazon, they were already ahead of the game because they've been putting billions and billions of dollars into robotics. So the drivers and stuff that they got right now, they're not going to be around too much longer. And that's why they went all with electric vehicles, because the plan is to basically to replace them with actual robots, to have robots delivering your stuff. That's where this is heading. You understand what I'm saying? So you think about all the young people who have gone to school for these IT positions and all that. Now you're finding out that there's these massive firings and the technology is basically running them out ultimately. This is why I have said, again, it's vital and important for all of us as families, particularly Black families, to make sure that we have some type of income producing trade or business or something like that that isn't 100% reliant on the internet. Okay, I would highly recommend that. And I'm saying that even for us at Samba Tree, my wife and I, we had that discussion. I said, if the internet was to completely go out, what would happen to Samba Tree? And so we said immediately we'll just switch to being local. I guess, we're already looking in that direction anyway, as far as like going to these farmers markets and start doing that, start being a presence in these farmers markets and going that way. You know what I mean? It's really starting getting involved in a lot of the local stuff that's going on here. You know what I'm saying? And so I know how to market. I know how to, get things and all of that stuff. So yeah, so I need to start thinking more in that direction. Well, same with you. You need to start thinking that way as well, because in a minute, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to be working. They're not. And so, like I said, getting back to my point, most of these places that are doing all these massive firings, they're not just, I think it's safe to say that most of these people aren't Black. Okay. So now you have a higher talented pool of people. And that's no offense to Black folks at all. I'm not saying Black folks aren't talented. It's not that. I'm just saying in those spaces, you do have to have certain qualifiers when it comes to education and all that kind of stuff, right? So now you got a higher amount of, how can I say this? a massive amount of people who are a little more qualified than many black folks in these spaces who have just re-entered into the job market. So black folks already have been having a difficult time finding jobs. With these massive firings that are happening right now, what do you think is going to happen? You think it's going to get better? It's not. Now, I'm not saying that to make you sad. It's not that. It's just, it's a very harsh reality. It's a very harsh reality. And when I tell you every day, I have to process everything I'm just saying to you. It's not easy. Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, how can I do this? I'm not worried and I'm not in fear. It's just like, there's some harsh realities that I think at some point many of us are going to have to face. And there's some harsh decisions that many of us are going to have to make. It's very real. Let me see what Coach is saying here. Said the IT industry is bad. I don't even bother seeking work in that type of situation, software engineering. It's true. It's true. So we have to start thinking outside the box when it comes to, different things and all of that. So that's really what my focus has been on these last days or whatever. And I'm going to continue to think that way. And then, maybe from time to time, we can have these old roundtable kind of discussions with some of y'all. I would like to hear some of your ideas and thoughts and all of that. People who are in their 50s and your 60s and all of that. What's the plan? What's the plan? We don't want to see our seasoned citizens rotting in their houses. We don't want that to happen. We need to figure out something for that. And if you think for one moment some reparations check gonna come and fix all that, it's not, okay? We got to wake up to some realities. So anyway, there's a couple of things there I wanted to share I thought was pretty important, and more things to think about, process, and make any kind of adjustments we need to make in our own personal lives and the lives of our family, and that's what it's all about. It starts with you. Whatever change you're looking for, it begins with you. All right. Not the system, because the system hates you. Not because you're black. It's because the system is about the system, and it will always be about the system. Okay. But you have so much. You are nature. You are an embodiment of nature. You're an embodiment of nature, which means that there are many areas in your life that the system cannot control. You have to learn how to tap into that. Okay. So anyway, that's it. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, you guys take care and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll be talking again soon. All right. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Take care now.